We're going to create a crowdsourced, shared, per app VM host versioning platform. So many times you get a new version of an app, it doesn't run quite as well as the old version of the app. Sometimes you upgrade OSs, like you upgrade from Windows XP to Windows 7 or Windows 7 to Windows 10, and the app that used to work really good in Windows XP doesn't work as well anymore in Windows 7, or the app that worked really well in Windows 7 doesn't work as well anymore in Windows 10. So we'll be creating per app VM hosts real time for every single app. I'm excited about combining the VM apps, the app-based VM hosts, since one version of Windows XP wouldn't be fundamentally very different from another version of Windows XP. You could have all the root operating system files shared between hosts, and only have the app data and the registry and the drivers or whatever else needs to be different for that app to run perfectly in that VM host on each separate VM host by itself. But we want to give real-world examples. QuickBooks, Grand Theft Auto. Having a VM host that runs the perfect operating system for the perfect app at the drop of a hat for all your different apps on all your different platforms. Obviously, we're going to make use of video game emulators and make every video game from the old Ataris all the way up to the new Wii and the Wii U and all the other emulators that are working really well for even more modern systems. Have all of those independently installed as their own VM host with the app in it in the way that it's going to run the best and most efficiently. Obviously, initially we're going to have to do all of this on a laptop or a computer, but the idea is to eventually be able to do the same thing on an Android handset. Imagine running Civilization 2 in Windows XP on your Android handset, and a VM that was highly efficient and can also run whatever other Windows XP software you favored on it. And yet real-time also be able to open other VMs for other apps and other devices and architectures. So you could also be playing a Game Boy game on your Android phone, or you could be running an old Mac OS app on your phone, or an old DOS app, or literally any Linux app you can think of. Each app running in its ideal environment in a VM host that's running on the Proxmox shared supercluster between all of your devices. Having all of it be persistent. So if you're playing a game of Civilization 2 on your Windows XP VM host on your Android phone, and then later you go to open Civilization 2 on your desktop, it already opens up the same VM host with your same game in the same state, automatically giving you access to other interfaces such as the keyboard and mouse, and also the increased resolution of the higher resolution screens. Real-time scaling the entire display so that it makes sense on both devices, and also being touch capable when you're on your Android phone, knowing that that's the interface that you have to work with at that time when that VM is running on that host. We could have a crowdsourced shim that makes it very easy to plug in a USB gamepad on any device, so that, for instance, you could have your USB gamepad hooked up to your Android phone, or maybe even a Bluetooth gamepad hooked up to your Android phone, and then you could easily take that same gamepad and go hook it up with your laptop when you want to move your game over from your phone to your laptop. Because the OS is consistent across the entire cluster, so you can open that interface to that OS on any device that you own. And you can pick up right where you were in the app that you need that OS and that device to be running at that time. So you could have your old version of QuickBooks 8 or whatever from 2000 whatever running in a perfectly administrated version of Windows XP that was super stable, already took automatic backups both at the hardware and at the software level, and then replicating those backups across all of your devices, because remember, they're all clustered as a supercomputer as part of the Proxmox cluster. And you could open any app from any platform so long as that platform had some kind of virtualization capability, which almost all platforms do now. And of course, if all your devices are running as a cluster, then even your Raspberry Pi might be able to share all those computing resources with all your computers and run very complex, powerful emulators and emulated operating systems and emulated architectures using your state-of-the-art server CPU or your desktop CPU or your laptop CPU, or maybe even using the GPU of another Android device that you have that's also there on your network. Utilizing all that CPU, GPU, and memory to give you the ideal operating system VM host for the app that you want to run. So if you want to run Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the old version, on a Windows 7 machine, you can do so and get the exact right experience and have that experience shared real-time over the real-time cluster and network to whatever device you're on at the moment, even if you're on just a Raspberry Pi with a big screen and a USB controller. Also, different OSs could be hosting your data in a shared folder for all of your different VM host apps. So say your QuickBooks VM is saving a backup every time you close it into a folder that's actually a shared network folder in your cluster on all of your devices, shared and distributed, so you have a real-time backup no matter where you're doing the work. And of course, these backups are also replicating over the network and the internet and going to all of your devices out at other physical locations as well.